Right. Thank you for staying with us. The security of any nation is a very essential part, and in fact, the foremost responsibility of any serious government all over the world, globally, internationally, nationally, and of course, even subnationally. Well, even in local community, a community, a society has to be safe for anything reasonable, co-development to happen in it, and even for peace to reign, there must be security, and this is one thing that this nation has been battling with. You might want to say, insecurity is not really a Nigerian thing. You're right. But then the specter of abductions, kidnappings, banditry, has assumed a very terrible and, discomforting dimension. We had issues with the Boko Haram situation for the past 12, 13, 14 years, and it appears like we made some progress. When I mean we, I mean Nigeria as a people and as a nation as well. But then what we've been witnessing, especially the past few months, has been nothing but very discouraging, and every well-meaning Nigerian should be worried. It's really worrying. Just 3 days ago or 2 days ago, we learned of mass abduction to the tune of 80 people abducted in Katsina State. Before that, we've had abductions that were foiled by the military, personnel, and then even with foilings and the military trying their best, there was 80. That was the number given just 2 days ago. People, when we say 80 people were carted away, abducted rather, in Katsina State. And we have pockets of these incidents. And apart from that, even military formations are being attacked. And that shows the brazenness of these characters, these criminals who carry out these nefarious activities. Now, the defense headquarters yesterday came out in the media briefing, given by General Edward, General Buba rather, and he said, okay, a particular terrorist kingpin, Halilu Buzu, has been declared wanted. His picture given as well. Now, to make sense of all of this for us, is a defense analyst, and of course, he's here. He's been here severally. Deyemi Saka, he joins us virtually this morning to tell us that he's the professional here. What exactly we are dealing with, especially with these rising spate of abductions and kidnapping and attack on military formations as well. Mr. Saka, good morning. Thank you for joining.
Good morning. I'm not a professional because I've not been certified by the military or any governing body. I'm still in training with some organizations.
All right.
A couple of months from now, or probably a year or two, I probably might have I might be a certified counter-terrorism analyst or expert. But for now, I'm still in training.
Okay.
And
That's
let's
good.
jump into the conversation straight up. I think we have a problem as a nation from how we're confronting to how we're disseminating information about what we're dealing with, and for our government approach. The first thing I want us to understand is this: whatever you see happening in Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, what have you, is not banditry, and that is why Nigerians must criticize, and for lack of nicer words, crucify the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari for that great disservice it did to Nigerians. It was in a bid to make Nigeria believe the government of the day of that era was working, was why they de-escalated the classification of Boko Haram terrorists to banditry. So oftentimes when you guys are talking, you probably will just think it's banditry, it's just another form of a lower level of insecurity, but it is terrorism. That is one. Two, um, the actions of governmental actions of the past administration that give a bit of can I say cover to insecurity But to this terrorism brought us here. And I'll cite my before NBC comes for anybody, and I'll tell you why I said that.
Mm.
We saw the Dapchi adoption. And like you said, you used the word carted away, and that's the right word. Just like Chibok went to Dapchi, adopted kids. And when we talk about adoption, Katsina, Zamfara, or the northeast, northwest is what is called a militarized zone. That means you have every presence of military. The only thing we can't call it a fully militarized zone was because we still had civilian governors in place and we didn't have military administrators and there was no martial law in place. But there was every military presence and every military operations. And you now ask yourself, how is it possible for them to go dead of the night, pack kids like they're packing toothpicks or matches undetected? And they even ferry these children back to town, middle of the town, undetected. There are some things that there are some actions that have been an affront on our collective intelligence that we just let it fly. Maybe because of politics. A lot of people kept quiet because, yeah, the government's in power and there's their party or they are sympathetic to it and they doesn't want to make it look as if they're criticizing a working government. That's aside. What is called our procurement to fight this war has been faulty to the dying days of the administration and maybe a semblance of revival in this administration. I'll give you one instance to buttress my argument. There was the purchase of Tucano jets, which was an impeachable offense because of how it was purchased or paid for. Based on disregard to Constitution and Section 881 of the Constitution, public revenue, for that did not get delivered until 3 years or 4 years thereafter after procurement, did not do us any good. We are fighting what is called asymmetrical warfare, urban warfare, and we keep buying fighter jets. For crying out loud, can you deploy fighter jets to go on operations in a town within a city? What we needed to have concentrated, or probably those people drafting what is called scope paper. Scope paper is a list of what you need to prosecute a war or something. Should have known, or that all we needed was attack helicopters. And to some of us, we will tell you we needed MHI 37, MHI 37I or 35, or Apache, maybe the second or third generation, if America would not want to sell you the fourth generation. And they'll still do the job. I haven't laid out. Now, the other thing is this. So why we're facing it now as a country is because of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. With all signs of respect, probably was not knowledgeable enough about the situation on ground. There's something called human intelligence that is needed to fight some things like this, which Nigeria is lagging behind. Because you find out that the human intelligence you're trying to get, this is the collaboration of the communities and the people. The insurgents have it more than you because they're not controlling their localities, they are paying fines to them, they're allowing them to go to their farms, they are giving them a sort of a tax holiday. And you came into office, and from May 29 till date, you are unleashing hardship on Nigerians, which makes the loyalty and the patriotism of Nigerians and the commitment of Nigerians to the Nigerian state very cheap and unstable because they want to survive. And when you've paid so much as ransom and what have you, which you've encouraged in the northeast and northwest, these guys are not going to use that money to buy sausages. They're going to use it to buy more hams and fund their operations, which includes buying loyalists and spies against the government. And one instance that should let us know how we've lost it, the Nigerian populace is compromised because they need to survive, was how a location that was rightly, intelligently identified as a terrorist hideout became a religious gathering when the army drone was going to strike. shows you how much we've been compromised as a nation. So you cannot now separate the upsurge in criminality and terrorism from the rising hardship Nigerians are going through. Then lastly, we are fighting terrorism. The army should not be in the front of it. I've been saying this because it is not a conventional war. Army has an intelligence gathering arm. The military has an intelligence gathering arm. But the people that are trained to deal with terrorism, counterterrorism, are the DSS and the NIA, and they probably have a functional counterterrorism unit. And lastly, the thing that is dealing with this country is we have a misfit in office as NSA. It might be it could have been a fantastic police officer, but as a national security officer, Noah Ribadu is a huge misfit for that office, and that's the truth.
All right, Mr. Saka, that's quite a big one, especially on the personality of Nuhu Ribadu.
Not personality, as his competence,
okay,
his actions, his productivity, and his service to the nation as the national security advisor.
There have been calls in some quarters that we've had former military guys in charge at as NSA before. Maybe it's a strategic move to have somebody that is not from the military background to mount that office. And you said something very quickly in your submission. You said this has the rising spread of insecurity has an economic dimension to that because of the hardship the people are facing. But would that be fair? Because many persons will say when Buhari was there was a time we had it more rough than these, more terrible than these. So is this really a Tinubu thing? From Jonathan to Buhari's 8 years, and now to President Tinubu, is it really because of what is on ground now? That is not new.
Now, I think we need to understand two things.
Okay.
When Jonathan was there, whether we like it or not, the reason for the people of the region being sympathetic to Boko Haram or the insurgents was just two things: tribal affiliations and religious sentiments. The reason when President Muhammadu Buhari was there and the thing rose that high and grew out of hand was because President Muhammadu Buhari was grossly nonchalant towards the activities of those guys, and there was obvious favoritism in his actions, his government actions in dealing with insecurity. And I'll give you an instance: IPOB, that was declared a terrorist organization, initially was declared wrongly as a terrorist organization because it was an horrid action. IPOB, as at the time was declared a terrorist organization, had never fired a single shot. What they were just doing was advocacy and agitation that was not violent for secession. No government anywhere in the world will accept that. But they had not fired a single shot. What was the governmental response to it? You sent a detachment of army to Abia State, and they did all they did in Nnamdi Kanu's residence, and that was what happened. And IPOB became violent. Even when IPOB was at the initial stage of the violence, I don't think IPOB, no. And the next thing you did was the army wrongly declared IPOB a terrorist organization, away and against the Nigeria Terrorism Act or law. That it is the pronouncement of a high court that prescribes a terrorist organization as a terrorist organization and will be gazetted by the federal government. And after now going back to do the right thing, 10 days after that pronouncement was gazetted and IPOB was declared a terrorist organization. It took 3 years of foot dragging, or 5 years, or 6 years, almost 6 years of foot dragging before Fulani herdsmen were declared a terrorist organization. And it took almost 6 months for the government to act on it. So that was why you saw the spike in the activities, because you could say favoritism for insecurity or insurgents or criminals from a certain part of the country. When people were killed in Jos, especially when it comes Miango and what have you, in 2016, what President did was he sent the IGP. Didn't know the IGP did not even carry out his order, but the army came out and said they underestimated the firepower of the headsmen, the Fulani headsmen that came. Fulani headsmen, because I've not seen the Obama as a header. But when there was a retaliatory attack or an attack on a Fulani community in Taraba, within 24 hours to 48 hours, you saw the full complement of the federal government on ground. The GOC was on ground. The vice president was there. Obviously, President Muhammadu Buhari was out of the country at that time. If he was in the country, would have been there. Minister of Defense was there. The High GP was there. And the Minister of Interior. Were those guys special beings? Were those guys VIP Nigerians? And one other thing that is happening, because a lot of people will say it was a jailbreak. I will call it a prison swap or prisoner swap. The Kuje prisoner swap brought about this as well. Kuje, that quote and unquote on paper Kuje prison break took us back to 2010.
You call it a swap? How so, Mr. Deyemi? It was a jailbreak. How come you are referring to it as a swap?
Now, how can Kuje jailbreak go unconfronted, was never resisted? Those guys that came to break into Kuje were never engaged. Looking at the strategic location that Kuje prison was sited, and even after the operation, still left Abuja, released video of them celebrating in the camp of where they were, and the leftover of the kidnapped victims or victims of the Abuja train kidnap were released. After one of the demands was release our commanders in Kuje prison, and those commanders were released, or those commanders were taken from Kuje prison, and those guys were released from adoption. Please, you don't pee on my face and tell me it's raining. I'm too intelligent to be so a dummy. And those guys drove all the way from Kuje, bust out to the Grandpa axis, and went into the forest along Kaduna, Mina, where they were, undetected. Even if you didn't want to engage them while they were going on with their whatever, because you were trying to avert collateral damage, you couldn't provide what is called close air support to monitor them, to know where they were heading to, and even blow them into smithereens from the sky with an attack helicopter.
All right, Mr. Saka, are you saying that this swap, it's between, or let me just put it this way, it's between who and who? The swap,
there was a government in office at that time that failed Nigerians at that time, that was saddled with the responsibility of getting Nigerians back to safety. And when that happened, the Nigerians that were in safety, that were held up in captivity, were released. It's not rocket science. It is simple. 1 + 1 = 2. Simple arithmetic.
Okay, so for you now, I mean, I've listened to all your submissions since you started with us today. You are saying that the federal government should focus more on soft pedaling the economic policies that has made Nigerians go into, more poverty as it is.
Some Nigerians, and the sad part is those few Nigerians that are going into such criminal enterprise is hurting the nation as a whole. They're paying more for the actions of those few Nigerians. And another thing we should do, I think we should demilitarize our counter-terrorism, or what is called counter-insurgency strategies. It's called coins. Our counter-insurgency strategies need to be demilitarized. And that is the truth. Because even the military in its quest, and rightfully, to keep the country safe will trample on the rights of people and citizens. It's not out of wickedness. It comes with your training.
All right. Mr. Saka, you have also mentioned that the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, is a misfit for that office. I'd like to ask you, what is it doing that he isn't supposed to be doing, or what is he not doing that he is supposed to be doing?
Well, in the last few days from now, it's a few days from now, yeah, to be 1 year in office. Please, what has been the national security, what has been the national strategy that you've seen? The imprint, the blueprint that you've seen, or the policy direction from the NSA that's shown that this man is working? None. And fine. One other thing that indicted his competence was the way the Binance director strode out of the country. If one guy cannot protect or secure a Binance director, please, without giving them fair advert, who can they now secure the nation? How can you? It is so ridiculous that you have one person that you said it was a threat to your national security, was kept in a safe house, and was still strolling around Abuja to say he has enough. He had that time to say wants to go pray in a mosque, and the man is still there in office as NSA. And that guy went out of the country and embarrassed us that Nigerians demanded for bribe. Please. I don't have any threat. Apart from the fact that he was a fantastic police officer. He's a fine-looking, gentle-looking man, and it gives me hope as a Nigerian, as son, that I need to be a military guy to be the NSA. That's why a lot of us celebrated his emergence into office.
Okay.
I don't have anything personal against him. It's just about competence. And do you think I as a person, do I believe Nigeria national security architecture will get stronger, will become efficient under Nuhu Ribadu for the next 1, 2, 3 years? No. But is Nuhu Ribadu a competent man in his chosen field of career, or was he competent? I'll say yes. So nothing personal. I wouldn't even mind having him as a in-law if my sister says he wants to marry him.
The Binance guy.
So I don't have anything against him.
Mr. Deyemi, the Binance guy have been caught, as he has been apprehended again.
Apprehended again by?
Well, learned he was gotten hold of in Kenya or thereabout a few days ago.
By when? Let's wait till he gets back to Nigeria.
Now, speaking to...
Let's wait till he gets back to Nigeria.
Yeah, speaking about the issues on ground, the Defense Headquarters, granted the regular press briefing yesterday, and they put a name. They talked about what they have done, by the way, foiling different attempts. They have retrieved so many Nigerians that were abducted by these criminals, and they talked about the workings, things that is going on, the positives of their actions as well, and then they finally put a name, the one Halilu Buzu. We learned he's a Nigerian, and that he is on the wanted list, possibly the most wanted right now. But we allow you and our viewers to see this particular clip, and then we get back to the conversation. Please stay with us.